Today, I want to talk about the situation with the 49ers. After the, of course, NFC Championship game that I talked about in my recap in my last video for both the games. Obviously, the big thing I said was the what if with Brock Purdy getting hurt. Of course, Hassan Reddick again. I said came off the edge early in the first, hit his elbow, and he was basically ineffective for the whole game. He did eventually come back in the second half, and but he couldn't do much with his injury. Of course, a day later comes out saying that he has a UPL injury and needed Tommy John surgery, and he'll be out for 6 months. Uh, won't be back until projected. If you add that out to the start of August, which is already getting pretty close to the preseason already, and that's before. And of course, in that time, he's not even be throwing. So you're already, I think, of after the 6 months, how long does he have to wait even after the start really getting back in motion to start throwing the football? And obviously for the 49ers, they can't, you can't wait for that. You can't wait for Purdy to get healthy if that is their option to go with him as a starter next year and just hope he can just figure it out. This team is built now to win the championship. Kyle Shanahan has been there, feels like countless times now. It's the NFC Championship game, and he's come up short. He came up short in the Super Bowl. Had a 10-point lead against them, going into the fourth quarter, loses that game. 2 years later, faces the Rams, an NFC Championship game, comes up short. Garoppolo had the final possession, couldn't do anything, and then you have this year, just fell apart with the injuries, especially with Brock Purdy, and this team the window's starting to close with them. It's tough. I mean, you got playmaker. You certainly have a ton of playmakers on offense: Kittle, McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, Debo, Ayuk. Still great offensive line, but getting up there in age, and this it's a must win situation now, and they can't wait on Purdy, and that's the discussion I have today is just the situation of who they're going to be going with. Of course, right now the three quarterbacks they have on hand for now is Trey Lance, their 2021 or 2020 first round pick. Brock Purdy, of course, this year, Mr. Irrelevant, and Jimmy Garoppolo. It doesn't look good. All three are. I want to say for Purdy injury prone. This is his first injury. Trey Lance has been hurt second straight year. Garoppolo, we know his injury history. So Shanahan, it's definitely a very difficult decision what to do. Of course, now you're hearing more and more if you're watching sports shows or reading articles and such that Tom Brady's name has come up for discussion. It makes perfect sense. Obviously, I don't. No one believes that he's going to be going back to Tampa Bay. I think he's done, especially with the fire of Byron Leftwich. I think he's done with the situation. He's getting up there in age too, and he doesn't have too much longer. He needs a win now situation. Of course, 49ers is a top candidate. I still think the Raiders are up there just because of the Josh McDaniels relationship. I still think they're up there, though. I think as a easier way to get to the Super Bowl, NFC no doubt is much easier. There's way less teams you have to go through to an NFC than the AFC. I mean, if you're in the AFC, offhand you have to go through. If he joins the Raiders, Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, Ravens. Depending on what they do with Lamar, Chargers, Jaguars, Browns, Titans. Titans are still a competitive team. Whatever they figure out with their situation with Tannehill. And you still have good one. Dolphins, of course, whatever, again, situation, that could be another spot for Brady. Jets, Patriots are going to be better this year. So, it's, for a degree of difficulty for Brady, it would be much better for him to go to the NFC. A lot less way to go through. And that's the discussion is just trying to figure out, personally for me, like, what is the best way to go? What quarterback is the best to go with next year? So I want to start with Garoppolo. Again, you look at the accolades of what he's done there. He's taken them to 2 NFC Championship games, led them to a Super Bowl, and before the injury, was doing pretty well. They were starting to get back on track until he suffered a season-ending injury. So obviously he would be the top candidate, I think, at first, just because of what he's done, what he's been been there, the success he's had. But I think eventually I think he's done. To me, that for as a Bills fan, it reminds me of the similar to Tyrod Taylor situation where it just the team never fully committed. Like they always weren't sure, always trying to find a way to replace him. Like granted, he was only there for 3 years, but it just didn't seem like they really were confident in him and always try to find ways to get up under him. And I kind of feel the same with Garoppolo. It's like he has led this team to again two conference championships, a Super Bowl, but it just seems like they're always trying to find ways to replace him. Of course, they made a huge trade for Trey Lance in 2020, moving up to third overall to take him. You have the emergence of Brock Purdy this year, which no one, of course, no one expected that to happen, but he has played well. But I think eventually, of course, looking at it from the 49ers perspective, is just, he keeps getting hurt. He's very injury prone. He was like that in New England too. And I think he's done. I think eventually, I think both sides are gonna part ways for Garoppolo. I don't think he's gonna get the starting job here. I think they're done. Even if they don't get Brady, I still think they're gonna go with someone else, and he's gonna be in a similar situation that he is this year, starting as the backup. And I think he's done with that. Where to go? I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure out for another video. Obviously, I'm trying to figure out the quarterbacks. The next video I want to try and do, or in the future, is predicting where the quarterbacks, where a lot of the top quarterbacks for free agents are rumored to be traded, where they're going to go. Just quickly for me, I had Garoppolo going to the Buccaneers. Just pretty a solid option. They still have good talent on the offense, and I think that would be a solid option. Of course, they just saw not too long ago that they were interviewing the Georgia offensive coordinator for their position. So it would make sense for them. They're still competitive. They're still in a horrible division. Of course, like I said, I have zero doubt that Brady's going to go back there. I think again that's done. He got a Super Bowl. He's out. The team's starting to age. I know they're going to soon have to worry about obviously the contracts and such. So but I see Garoppolo going there. And the bigger discussion is probably more so between Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. So for this year in Purdy, he started 9 games. He had over 1,300 passing yards, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 107.3 passer rating, 65.4 QBR, and had just over a 67% completion percentage. Now, the tougher discussion is this a real deal? Is this who Brock Purdy really is, or is just I call it lightning in the bottle? It was just perfect timing, perfect situation. Of course, we've seen countless times for rookie quarterbacks where they come in, they really succeed, and it just more so the lack is just teams not having enough film on them to kind of know the tendencies and how to stop them. And you just worry about that. Is it just teams just didn't know enough about Purdy, and he wasn't asked to do too much? There wasn't expectations from him to really come in and lead this team. There definitely was that. Again, no one really expected a 7th round rookie quarterback to come in and lead their team this far. So there was no expectations. Would that change if, let's say, they did stick with him and next year he has all the expectations on there to be to lead this team in the Super Bowl? Would it be different? I don't know, but I definitely do think regardless with the injury again, he should be ready. It's the start of August, but then the problem is that's right at the preseason, and of course you're having one less preseason game. Definitely makes it tougher to evaluate how his throwing is, how his arm would be doing with throwing the ball. And the bigger problem too is Trey Lance. The 2020 again, they traded up to the 3rd overall in 2020. Gave up a whole lot. They gave up 3 first-round picks and a third. A ton. Pretty much mortgage their future for the next few years to, for them to truly believe that he's the next guy. Rookie year came in when Garoppolo was hurt, played okay, got hurt himself. This year was named the starter, and and played less than 2 games. And halfway through the second game, he gets hurt. He has a broken ankle. I believe that's a broken ankle. Is out for the rest of the year. Didn't play too well in week 1 against Chicago, but it was basically a monsoon in that game, so it's hard to judge. And Trey Lance, in his career, he's only played 8 games, has 700, just under 800 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 84.5 passer rating, a 34.7 QBR, and a just under 55% completion percentage. Definitely not good. And the problem is, too, you're going to year 3 and not really seeing anything with Lance. Of course, this was supposed to be the big year to really know what you got in Lance. He sets out his first year, develops sits behind Garoppolo, and learns from Shanahan to become better, and eventually become the starter this past year. But again, now we're starting to have talks of is he injury prone? Is this who he's going to be? So definitely from just right off the bat, those two, you're already saying it. So if you take Garoppolo away, I think he's done. I think he's going to move on. I think 49ers are going to move on from him. You're stuck with 2 injured quarterbacks. Trey Lance, I know he got surgery again. I don't know when he'll be ready. If he's good to go, even for the start of the season. And then, of course, you have Brock Purdy with the Tommy John surgery. Going to be out 6 months. So, for Kyle Shanahan, you're in a pretty big dilemma here of who's going to be the guy who's going to lead the team and have a chance to potentially go back to the Super Bowl and hopefully, for them to win it. And that's why I bring up the whole, everyone else, the whole Tom Brady deal. It's starting to make more and more sense that it makes more sense that Brady goes to the 49ers, especially now with the Purdy injury. I think if Purdy was healthy, and I see again, I predicted the Eagles to win either way, regardless if Purdy was didn't get injured. But even so, if it played out the way I thought, I still think they would have stuck with Purdy regardless, because they would have saw hey, there is potential here. He can't run the system. And he didn't too bad. Like I said, it just had 67% completion percentage, 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's pretty good compared to Lance's. Played 1 less game than Purdy, only has 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So obviously, right there, you already say, all right, going to next year, it might be a QB battle between Lance and Purdy. Now, not so much. Both are injured, and now it's starting to may look more clear that Brady might be the starter. But if Brady comes in, I'm not going to give him a long-term deal. Again, he's up there in age. You started to see some regression this year. I know that the Bucs had a lot of injuries on offense, especially on the offensive line. Couldn't protect them. Brady is already not mobile as it is, so giving him less protection, and having more chances of getting hit or sacked. He's not going to do that. He's going to throw the ball away, and we saw that in the Cowboys game. Once they got pressure, he got the ball away. He didn't want to take the hits, and it just fell apart. So I think for the very least, you give with the injuries, you give him a one year deal, 2 years maybe at most, to see what you can do. They also promise to, again, the rest of the team's aging. You're not sure about the offensive players. A lot of them are very injury prone too. Kittle, McCaffrey, Debo's been banged up. Ayuk, not so much. But again, most of your top offensive players, again, your offensive line, Trent Williams is up there in age. They're starting, the whole offense is starting to get older. Defense, you're not going to, look at the defensive side, you're not going to have that team, that side of the ball, as stacked it is for very much longer. You got to take advantage of the window, and I think it's starting to slowly close. And I think for Shan, for right now, he's, obviously if you look at it from his perspective, he seems very desperate, no doubt, to win one. Of course, was the blew the big lead against New England in the Super Bowl as offensive coordinator. Blew a 10-point lead against Kansas City in his Super Bowl as a head coach. Gone to 3 NFC Championship games. The last 2 have lost. So and it all comes it all comes on the quarterback. I'm not a big fan of Garoppolo. I mean, he does win you games, but he's not the reason. and he's especially in the Super Bowl and in the last year's championship last year's championship game, he's shown that once you make him win it for you, when you ask him to win the game for you, he's not going to do it. He only can manage games. He'll make plays here and there, but when you actually have to, expect him to be at times like a Tom Brady, Mahomes, Allen to make those plays for you, he's not going to do that because that's not who he is, and that's where I think you got to take at least for a 1 year deal to take a chance on Brady. One of the articles I was reading was saying for the idea is sign Brady and the trade Lance to the Titans, which again still trying to figure out from my list where the quarterbacks where the destinations for some of the quarterbacks are going to go, and I was stuck on Trey Lance because I didn't know where for him where he should go. Titans did pop up in my mind. I went with the Saints because obviously they're in the same dilemma too. They don't seem to care for Dolan or Jameis Winston, so I thought that could be a perfect spot there. Still pretty cheap. Don't have to give up a lot of assets to get him to begin with. They have decent talent around him already. On top of that, going to just a bad division regardless. Your top team is probably going to be, as of right now, the Buccaneers or Panthers, depending on what Frank Reich does there. But it just seems like, the more and more, especially with the Purdy injury, it does make sense that you would at least take a flyer on Brady just for 1 year, again, at most 2, to really maximize that. But it's gonna be pretty interesting this offseason. What will happen, especially with the 49ers? Especially for them, no doubt, especially in the NFC, a lot of pressure to figure the spot out. Because they have the luxury of not going through the AFC, not having all the stacked teams in the AFC. For them, offhand, you only have Dallas. Whatever how you feel about Dallas, of course Philadelphia. Giants are not a threat to win the Super Bowl, but definitely a playoff contender. Minnesota will be back there again. Probably not. I don't think as good as they were this year, but I still think they have a chance to make the playoffs. Detroit will be one. Packers, and again, Seahawks. Did a pretty good job. Went 9-8 with what they had. Many people even thought they were gonna be the worst team this year. Rams, I think, are gonna bounce back. He had a ton of injuries on the offense this year, so. It's much easier for them to go through NFC than it is for the than teams in the AFC. But I'm not sure. Who knows? Maybe there could be another option besides Tom Brady. Tom Brady does make most sense. He has the knowledge. He's been there. He's done it. He has the experience. I'm not sure what other quarterback that you could really go after. Maybe if they wanted to go with Jimmy Garoppolo again, I guess you could do that. But I don't see him going back. Again, especially if you're going to be asking him to be a backup, if at that time if Purdy can slowly get back into the rhythm or Trey Lance is going to be good, I just think it's going to be tough to ask Garoppolo again to be the backup. But the other one I threw out there, maybe not a good option either, is Baker. He did pretty well towards the end of the year with McVay and the Rams offense. Maybe Shanahan could do something very similar with them. They definitely have the talent there it's not to ask Baker to do too much. They have the running backs, they have the O-line, the weapons around them, the defense. So I think Baker could also be an option, but I doubt that. I just threw it out there. For Baker, I have him at least going, maybe staying with the Rams again this year, or again the 49ers. I think that could be an option. But I think more so the biggest one could be Brady. Again, just for 1 year. And who knows? That's all you might need is just 1 year. You see what he did at his age. A couple of years ago with the Buccaneers. They had a horrible start for most of the season until they found a way towards the end to pick it up and eventually won the Super Bowl his first year. Almost had a good chance to go back last year, but just a great pass to Cooper Kupp, but to get a game-winning field goal to kind of steal the game from Tampa there. And this really is his worst year that he's had in a long time. So I think it was just more so the team. I still do believe he's regressed. Not to say he's a horrible quarterback, but he's not the elite quarterback he was, that where he can just, he can pull a team out and win constantly. You saw a lot of the wins were just against, teams in his division where, he was only down 14 or 6 with 2 minutes left and was able to use a 2-minute drill to come back. But again, only taking advantage against bad teams. You saw once he faced playoff teams, great teams, with the Cowboys, got blown out. Chiefs, I mean, they did score a lot. They scored over 30, but still got blown out by the Chiefs. So, like I said, I think Brady. I think the 49ers is probably the best option for Brady. Easier path. I mean, people will still even question about Hurts if he really is that guy. Cowboys, again, we know Cowboys how they are every year. Always get hyped, always disappoint in the playoffs. Vikings, again. And a lot of their games got lucky. And you saw the Giants easily beat them, easily shut down that team. And for everyone else, it's like decent. Lions aren't going to be a Super Bowl contender. Packers aren't going to be. Who else? Like I said, Giants. The NFC South, there's really nobody. I mean, of course, someone's going to make it there regardless, but none of them are going to be contenders either way. It's probably going to be how it was last year or this year, going to next year, where the team that's going to be the number one in that division is only going to have probably 8 or 9 wins. I see at most. And they got in your own division, Cardinals are rebuilding. Rams are up. Player wise, are getting older. Having problems with cap. They're, especially having problems with the cap, draft picks, lack of draft picks. Always a controversy with Sean McVay if he's going to retire or step away. So NFC for Brady seems to be stay in the NFC, but definitely go to the 49ers because you're in a much better situation. I think you can take advantage of a beat up division. I definitely think you can take advantage of that division. Of course, the NFC South. That's going to be a horrible division. And besides that, not too much competition in your way to go, to reach a Super Bowl one last time. If this is going to be his final year, you go out with your childhood team, win it for them. I mean, that'd be a perfect way to end his career, win his 8th Super Bowl at his hometown. But that's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think about the whole 49ers situation. If you do think Brady's going to be there, or if you think they're going to stick with Lance or Brock Purdy, Garoppolo, or maybe there's another quarterback you think out there that they'll take a chance on or might draft. But let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one.